First and Now is brought to you by World Vision Canada, national charity partner of the BC Lions. You can visit bclions.com/worldvision to become a supporter. Christmas, holidays right around the corner. It's a great charity to support for those in need this season. Well, Nikki, it feels like Christmas, doesn't it?
Yeah, schedule day. It's a big one, right? And Commissioner Stuart Johnson put out a date, December 9th, right? It's the earliest I can remember it coming out. I don't know about you, but it's nice to have it early, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was kind of an outlier where I think we had about no less, this is not an exaggeration, I think we had 6 or 7 different versions we were sent, whereas this year, the version we got, before the Grey Cup even, right? We hadn't even played the Western Final yet, I don't think. So, and now knowing the outcome and what happened, we'll get into it, our first game in week 2 in Saskatchewan. But yeah, a rather seamless process this year, and props to everyone for getting it done. And yeah, like we talked about, the 72nd season of BC Lions football, we already knew a couple of things. It was announced in recent weeks, recent months, we're going back to Langford for preseason. Now it's official that Edmonton will be the opposition on May 23rd. Edmonton and Calgary, not in that order, though, providing the opposition for Touchdown Kelowna in weeks 4 and 5, June 27th and July the 4th. But we'll do a bit of a deep dive here on this episode. We're going to talk to Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation in just a little bit. We'll get to some player signings that we haven't yet discussed, but yeah, always good. If you're a Lions fan out there, now you can officially get into planning mode for your summer and beyond that.
Yeah, and it's exciting, right? It's just that time of the year where you can figure out your plans for the season. I know we're already thinking about our travel and how that's all going to work out, alluding to there's a trip out east where there's potential to stay over. So that's something I've never experienced. I know you have.
Not just potential. I think it's bound to happen. Yeah,
logistically it makes sense, right? And the Kelowna too, what's going to happen there too. So it's exciting for everybody, right? And of course, with that territory, we also have to make content for that. So we'll give a little plug to our lion detector video is what we're calling it. So buying into or leaning into the fact that Jackson Finley and Nathan Rourke, they look alike, right? And we scripted out a nice little video to release our schedule where Jackson and Nathan and some community guys that were staff here were involved. So shout out to Alex and Jordan for their willingness to participate in that. But if you haven't looked at or checked it out yet, it's all over the BC Lions social media, BC Lions YouTube, BC Lions website as well. So easy to find. But if you wanna have some laughs, I recommend you go check that video out.
No, great job. Props to yourself, Tyler McMaster, Jill and Alicia doing some great work behind the scenes to make that all happen. So, yeah, and I was always excited to see the reaction, and it's getting some pretty solid reactions so far, as I would say as we record this. It's only been a few hours since it got released. So, yeah, let's get into it. Mention Langford preseason, the 23rd of May. And here's something that I don't ever remember happening. Winnipeg on the road to end preseason. So we'll do the Kamloops to Winnipeg flight, play a preseason game, and then fly back to Kamloops before driving home to wrap that one up. I know you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind going home. The only thing about that one is you got a long flight from Kamloops to Winnipeg. In terms of CFL preseason.
Preseason, it's used to Calgary, Edmonton. We've done Regina a couple times, and yeah, that'll feel a little bit different. And the football ops brass will have to come back and
get right to it, not to be a Debbie Downer.
Stay in Kamloops and do all the roster stuff.
Yeah, that's cut down day, right? Not to be a Debbie Downer. So that's not the best logistical task for them, but so be it, right?
Yeah, and then another thing I haven't experienced is the week 1 bye. We're going to get that this year. No real surprise considering the backloaded home schedule and the need to do some juggling of those puzzle pieces. Week 2 at Saskatchewan. There we go. It's also the opener for the Riders, so it appears that there's only, 3 games in week 1 of the CFL's regular season. Lions at Riders in week 2. They'll be raising the Grey Cup banner and all that fun stuff. Hopefully that will serve as some motivation. But all that aside, not a bad place to open the season.
No, and I think naturally these two teams are starting to form a rivalry, right? It was a rivalry back in the 2000s, I think you could say. But from there, kind of, I think Calgary, Winnipeg, just based on playoff matchups, kind of became those teams for the Lions. And the way the defending great champs are rolling, and I'm sure they're going to be re-signing some of their guys. DeMarcus Hardrick, I just saw re-signed for them. So that's a huge piece for them. But the CFL, I think their logic here was you want Nathan Rourke in attendance for that big Saskatchewan season opener, right? And based off how last year's West Final went, like you said, I think the motivation, the revenge element, it's all there.
Yeah, because like we said, this schedule was known before the Western Final and Grey Cup were played. So these extra storylines are just gravy, right? And there already was some great storylines, as you say. Last time we opened in Saskatchewan, 2021, Nathan Rourke got his unexpected first start. Was quite the eventful night for yours truly. We won't get into it all here, but I can look back at it and laugh now. And and now he's going there as the most outstanding player and most outstanding Canadian. Saturday, the 13th of June, 4 o'clock Pacific time. Short week, and it's a long trip to Hamilton. Friday the 19th. Week 2, Friday night football in Steeltown. Nathan Rourke v. Bo Levi Mitchell. Pretty good week 2 matchup.
Bo Levi Mitchell doesn't have a contract right now. We don't know that yet.
Well, didn't I tell you my sources are telling? No.
We're not breaking news out here. But I think
he's not going to go anywhere else. Come on,
probably.
Yeah.
But you talk rivalries. I think while there's no maybe talk about dating back to the 1960s, there's a rivalry with the BC Lions and Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'm talking about the Angela Mosca, Joe Kapp, Willie Fleming whole debacle back then that resurfaced in 2011. But I mean, in my time with the BC Lions, Hamilton, whenever we go there, whenever they come here, it's always a banger, right? And I think the road team has usually gotten the edge in these matchups, at least in the past couple of years. And, based off how both of the matchups went last year, I think both teams are going to be wanting to, come in with that intensity. And there's also the fact that I'm totally losing my train of thought here. I had one more thought about the BC Lions and Hamilton Tiger Cats. What would that be? Oh, kind of the Grey Cup matchup I thought a lot of people were looking for this past season.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen.
Given a lot of these storylines we're talking about. Yeah.
Early season matchup should be a good one.
Yep. And then we've hit on it after Hamilton. It's weeks 4 and 5 in Kelowna. The Stampeders on the 27th. The Elks on July the 4th. We've already talked about it. These early West Division games are going to go a long way in setting the tone. And getting to Kelowna, being part of the festival with more details to be announced in the new year is going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, not much to add on that, right? Like you said, it's the first really stretch against Western teams, right? It's technically the first 2 home games, and you're gonna have a home crowd behind the Lions. That's better elements for playing on offense, right? It's gonna be pretty difficult in Sask and Hamilton those first 2 weeks for Nathan Rourke operating, silent count, all those things. But it's gonna be nice to one get out to Kelowna and one to get back into comfortable territory, I would say.
And how about this? Week 6, another bye week. So 2 byes in the first 6. I'm already planning on staying in the Okanagan for a little family vacation after these
I like the
2
way you
games.
Think.
The plans are in motion. Let's just say that. That's very, very convenient. Then one more road game before a return home to downtown Vancouver in Edmonton for a second straight matchup with the Elks. I'm guessing Edmonton has a game in between those 2, but kind of a de facto back-to-back. And I'll tell you what, Nick, we talked in the last episode about how the Elks in particular are going to be motivated to start faster. If this is an opportunity to grab a season series this early, Lions got to seize that opportunity in Edmonton.
No doubt. And you think about last season with Winnipeg, right? They played the Bombers in week 2 and week 3. The Bombers win those 2 games, and we thought during down the stretch period that season series that went in Winnipeg's favor is going to come into play, right? And like you said, the way Edmonton is growing, I would say, under Mark Killam and progressing. They got Cody Fajardo back today, I also saw, through the transaction wire. They're going to be no slouch anymore, although Nathan Rourke against Edmonton is always a fun time.
Yeah, and we've alluded to a lot of this in the Lion Detector video. Week 8, July 25th, it's a 4 o'clock on Saturday. The Toronto Argonauts will represent the opposition for the BC Lions in the long-anticipated return home. Being back home should be the storyline, right? And it's a chance to salute the home fans for their patience and their unwavering support during these times. Hey, being out of your home stadium for this long is not something any of us has ever experienced, and we're actually going to get back-to-back home games. No, sorry. We're going to go to Winnipeg on the short week on the Thursday Night Football before Hamilton comes in Week 10.
Yeah, that July 25th game against Toronto, the return to BC Place. We got to hit our quota for saying on this podcast, what do you do in the offseason? Well, what are we doing in the offseason right now is I'm talking to our events team. They're already planning on how they're going to use all this extra time and all the, those renovations obviously going on in BC Place for the World Cup, but our events people, our game day people are already talking about these new, whether it's seating options like the Tunnel Club and the Terrace Club that are coming out, or how the team's going to enter the field. Obviously, the sidelines are going to be different this year with both teams on different sides of the field. So I'm looking forward to that and how, our game day people, how they utilize this extra time to plan all these things out. And they're all going to get unveiled in that July 25th game. And I think there's going to be a lot of cool things that are going to, re-happen at BC Place.
I think I'm just going to hang out in the Terrace Club this season and instruct people down below. Yeah, that's very much a solid looking plan. As mentioned, how about this? A short week, Thursday night to Winnipeg. I know Nathan kind of made fun of himself on his record against the Blue Bombers. Going into Winnipeg, it's likely going to be sold out. Never an easy place to play despite records. Hamilton, as mentioned, back here in Week 10, and then it's a big stretch here. It's a Week 11 Thursday in Calgary, another short week, another Saturday to Thursday on the road here. Lions will go to Calgary twice. The Stampeders will come to Kelowna, and that's it. They won't come to Save on Foods Field at BC Place. So 2 trips to Calgary, Nikki. Another important season series could be on the line here, barely halfway through the season.
Yeah, and that Winnipeg game, what do you think about when you hear Winnipeg at the end of July, start of August on a Thursday night?
Mosquitoes?
Well, that, but Nathan alluded to the fact, in the scheduled video, that he has not beaten the Winnipeg Blue Bombers yet, but that exact week in 2023, the Bombers dropped the 50 burger on us. That was the end of the Donut Boys. And then 2024, that was the Vernon Adams injury. So there is a legitimate... And that was a shutout too, that Vernon Adams Jr. Injury loss. So there's a legitimate curse or voodoo or whatever going on in that Thursday weekend at the end of July and August, and it's just they must be requesting that week, the Bombers.
Time to reverse that, I would say.
And that's what I'm looking forward to, right? Then if Nathan Rourke and this team is to take that next big jump, beating the Bombers is right there to it. And then, like you said, 2 weeks later in a Calgary and Thursday, it's a short week, but you got to take advantage of that, right? And that's going to be a big one. Vernon Adams Jr. and company, and get ahead of the 8 ball, as they say, when it comes to divisional football and divisional records.
Yeah, and don't necessarily have to go through the entire list here, as it is taking some time, but a very important stretch, that Thursday night in Calgary. Then we have our lone Sunday, expecting this to be the Watermelon Smash on August the 23rd. And then the Labor Day weekend, I should say. No, sorry, I'm jumping ahead again. This is a big, we talked about it, a possible long stayover out east. The Lions at the Red Blacks, Sunday, August 30th, and then Friday of Labor Day weekend right after that in Montreal. So we can pretty much say that we're likely staying out east, likely in the Ottawa area for an extra couple of days. And then the Montreal Alouettes come to town for the second half of a home-and-home on Saturday, September the 12th. Riders come for a second time in what will be our Orange Shirt Day game on Friday, September the 25th. We'll look to bump our Toronto slump on Saturday, October the 3rd. Red Blacks in town, looking like the Gravy Bowl, will be Friday the 9th. And then 2 big Western games to end the regular season. That second trip to Calgary we talked about on October the 17th. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the lone visit, the regular season finale on Friday, October 23rd.
Yeah, and
I like this schedule.
That's 4 home games too from September onward, and then think about last season rattling off 6 straight to end the year. A couple of those, or majority of those, are on home field. It's kind of been a staple the past couple of years here. I'd say that the home heavy schedule in September and October and going on a run, and that's exactly what you want to do, building momentum going into the playoffs. earning that home playoff game like this team did last year, and puts them in a good spot, right? You talk about 4 of your last 6 on home field, and that's obviously a factor of the World Cup and starting late when it comes to actual home games. But BC play should be rocking. A couple dark games too. I know that's exciting too. Having the lights go off when the team enters. So plenty of meaningful football. Home and home with Montreal too is another nugget there that's going to be pretty important, right? I know we've talked about a lot about Davis Alexander, Nathan Rourke kind of being the new faces of the CFL in each division, right? And getting to see each other in a span of 2 weeks is going to be pretty cool. But I know the players aren't the most fond of these back-to-backs with teams, especially when you only get to see them twice. But it's the cards you're dealt, right? And that's what happens when you get the schedule reveal and you get to examine it, through and through, and that's what we're doing here.
I know Buck's already looking forward to those media questions. How hard is it to beat the same team twice? 2 times in a row. You can always want to be inside the coach's head when they get asked that question, but it's got to be asked. It's a storyline. While we have a few minutes here before Justin Dunk, let's hit on a few games each that we're excited about. I'll start here. I love going to Saskatchewan for the opener. I know we've kind of talked about it already. Again, even without the whole Western Final Grey Cup angle, it would have been awesome. Saskatchewan's home opener, and yes, we'll watch the Grey Cup banner go up, I would presume. I'm intrigued on the second Kelowna game, especially, mainly because they're both going to be awesome, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the team sort of responds after being in the market for a few days. We're expecting to stay for the week in between Canada Day, festivals, community appearances, that kind of thing. Moja's golf shootout going on at the Harvest Golf Club, of course. Have to include that as part of the festival. I'm looking forward to seeing how that second game goes. And the regular season finale against Winnipeg. Pretty much every year during this recent Lions run with Nathan Rourke and VA, that last game has meant something, whether it means they have to win to finish second or win to maybe stay alive to host a Western Final. I expect the top of this division to be tight again with that. That final game could mean it all.
Yeah, no, those are great ones to highlight. I think for me, the preseason game at Winnipeg, obviously in personal reasons aside, that's very intriguing for me. I imagine the formula for how the roster is going to get deployed is going to be the same for the preseason. If you remember, it was most of the first year guys trying to make the team were in Langford, right? Trying to pretty much playing that whole game. And then pretty much all the starters traveled to Edmonton the week after, kind of as a tune-up right before the regular season game. And I kind of expect that. And it's it's a different territory. That's why I like the fact that we're going to Winnipeg for the preseason. But whatever new pieces are in this offense, right? Seeing them for the first time, and also seeing Keon Hatcher's back. So seeing him back in action, seeing Justin McInnes, whomever's at running back, right? James Butler is obviously on a expiring contract. So if he's back, that's fantastic. But just seeing the offense put together, the defense for the first time, I like that one. The Ottawa-Montreal stretch has really got my curiosity, right? We talked about how that's a short stretch, so maybe it's a layover there. I threw in is there a Parliament Hill practice in the cards maybe? I think it was the Saskatchewan Roughriders back in the day that did that.
Yeah, was it Chris Jones sat in the speaker's chair in the House of Commons and they posted a photo?
I mean, I'd be down. I think that'd be really cool and unique and a cool element, kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right, to do that. And Week 18 at Toronto. It's the only CFL venue I have not seen a BC Lions victory in so far in 4 years with the club. So break that curse. There's been some tough ones there, some close ones, some shootouts, more shootouts than not. I think you think about that 50 what was the score last year? Like 52 to 36 or something
34,
like that.
The old last time it happened document for the media guide, that game is rewritten. Quite a bit of that document, as has our big win in Calgary, where we hung a 50 burger on the stamp. So, 5 straight losses at BMO Field. The last win coming in 2019, courtesy a Sergio Castillo missed field goal walk-off rouge, with Michael Riley getting his first win of that season at quarterback. So that's how long it's been. Sergio and Riley were key cogs on the Lions' wheel then. So,
and last note too, there's always the Western team that comes twice, and the Western city we go to twice. The Western city we go to twice is Calgary, and the Western team that comes here twice is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So
Hey, the
lot of green and orange.
top 3 Western teams from 2025, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Calgary, and not saying that's going to be the case again by any stretch. It would be disrespecting the Elks and Blue Bombers. It's way too early in the offseason to project anything, but a lot of the standings predictions, I think, will be quite similar to how 2025 ended. So, yeah, I'm with you. The last time the Lions went to Calgary twice in the regular season, who could forget it? 2022, Nathan Rourke's crazy comeback game, the long completion to Brian Burnham, and then the second trip there, ironically, was Vernon Adams' first start, the overtime victory. And it was those 2 wins in Calgary that ultimately enabled the Lions to host the Stamps in the West semifinal, because Calgary came in here, I believe, the week after that Vernon game and beat the BC Lions. So there's been success in Calgary in the last 3-4 years, and that's going to have to continue.
The last overall note to have about the schedule is September 12th. If you're a Lions fan, you get to watch 3 football games before coming down to BC Place to see the Montreal Alouettes and BC Lions take off and play each other. So there's a quadruple header on September 12th, and that's the Banjo Bowl weekend. It's the rematch of the Battle of Alberta and what's the other game? Ottawa, Toronto. So
a quadruple header.
Yeah, quadruple header. I've never heard of that in the CFL in my lifetime. So while we'll be working the last game and be at the last game, as many of you listening will be too, that's a pretty cool day of football.
And that's great to do it. I mean, post Labor Day, there's college football down south and up north is starting. The NFL will be a couple of weeks in, or that might be week 1 in the NFL, I'm guessing, that same weekend. At any rate, the regular season's going on, baseball heating up. It's a great opportunity to have all 8 teams that are in action that week playing on the same day. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So kudos to everyone involved.
They're not overlapping though, so you can't do like a little CFL red zone, but
no,
it'd be a cool highlight pack for the whole day.
Absolutely. All right, bclions.com, our YouTube channel. Again, if you haven't already, check out the Lion Detector video. Excellent, excellent stuff. And love doing that. Love bringing you the content. Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation standing by. We'll get his thoughts on some schedule nuggets, assuming he's broken it all down. Talk about some off-season news. Of course, Keon Hatcher Sr. get his thoughts on the Lions star receiver agreeing to terms on a deal for the next 2 years. All that and more coming up on First and Now, presented by World Vision Canada. Back on First and Now, a presentation of World Vision Canada, and we checked all the itineraries, we checked the big ledger of all our guest history of the last 3 years. We think this is Justin Dunk's debut. We're thrilled to have him. Justin Dunk, of course, needs no introduction, but 3 Down Nation, pre- and post-game radio host with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, their radio network. Justin, happy scheduled day. How you been?
Been great, man. And fellas, thanks for having me on. I think you're probably right. It might be the first time, but let me give a shout out to the BC Lions and in particular you two for all the work that you do for that franchise. I want Amar Doman and everybody else to hear this publicly. I think they have an idea, but Matt, you're always so great about making interviews happen, communicating, having that awesome flow. And then Nick Kowalski, this guy is so elite that we asked him for a clip of Trevor Harris taking a shot that he told us he was injured on. He wasn't even quite sure the play. And then Kowalski goes and does his thing. Now, this is for an opposing team, pulls the clip, sends it to us in like record speed so we can use it on our video live stream for one of the Rough Riders home game broadcasts that we did in 2025. So you guys are awesome. Always love cutting it up and chopping it up about football with you guys. So good to do it while we're recording. We'll keep it PG.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the outtakes won't make it on, but yeah, no, hey, right back at you. You know, we all know it's challenging times in the media as we approach 2026, and yeah, I'm all about the access and talking BC Lions football, getting as much coverage as we can. But yeah, we appreciate it, and obviously We've had JC on a couple times, given his status as a local in our market. John Hodge, high salary cap hit. His agent is hard to get a hold of, so we'll look to get Hodge on maybe ahead of one of these Winnipeg games. But we have a lot to kick around here, Justin. Obviously, the news of the day, news of the week so far from a league perspective is the schedule. Not sure how much you've really broken it down, but what stands out for you?
To me, I think there's a number of things. You look at the first couple weeks, fellas, and I think a lot of people are like, well, why don't we have a Grey Cup rematch to start the season? But it's never that easy, as you guys know, in terms of the BC Lions' ideal home dates and then the amount of days that you can actually play those home games. And I think it builds the anticipation a little bit to have the Riders raise that 5th championship banner at Mosaic Stadium in week 2 to kick off their season. And that happens to be against the BC Lions, who, sorry, fellas, they beat in the West Final to get to that Grey Cup. And then a couple other highlights for me. You look at the quadruple header in week 15. I believe it's the first time since 1995 that's been a thing. That should be unique. And then the fact that the Riders are playing in Montreal for the Thanksgiving Monday game, that's usually been in recent years, at least since 2021, Ottawa against Montreal. So I like the idea of putting another team in there, seeing if that perhaps boosts ratings. You would imagine it would with the Riders. And then also, guys, I like that your BC Lions are involved in the Labor Day weekend against Montreal and sort of that cross-Canada rivalry, let's call it, with 2 of the best up-and-coming pivots. And I think Nathan Rourke has already arrived. So let's say he's a star pivot in the Canadian Football League going head-to-head on the Labor Day weekend. That always draws so much hype.
Hey, Justin, you mentioned week 2, BC at Saskatchewan. You already got your storylines prepped. You can ask Trevor Harris about Nathan Rourke, right? I'm sure he's going to love that. But there's lots of storylines, right, for that game?
There's a lot. We'll see if Trevor Harris is willing to talk about Nathan Rourke leading into that game, because he wasn't really wanting to do it going into the West Final. I don't think it was disrespectful at all to Nathan Rourke. It was just about Trevor Harris and his focus. But what I liked most was Nathan Rourke showing a little bit of swag after he scored a touchdown in that West Final and saying, it's our time to the Mosaic Stadium crowd. So perhaps reigniting that rivalry that I know Bakes knows so well.
Yeah, that was great. Hey, I'm all for emotion, and I'm all for guys showing it. I mean, it didn't age well for us, obviously, but it was great.
Yeah. So we've seen Touchdown Atlantic in the past. Obviously, our organization has done Touchdown Pacific with in Victoria 2 seasons ago now, obviously playing in Kelowna for the World Cup. Do you think is there any more potential growth in the future for offsite games? I know the Riders are doing it for preseason, but do you see any potential future growth for offsite games for teams?
I definitely think there are opportunities there. And, past Commissioner Randy Ambrosi has said that there have been other markets, like Windsor or London, that have reached out to the CFL about potentially hosting a game. But when that type of thing is going to happen, as you guys know, you have to have everybody towing the line sort of thing, like the city and the 2 teams that are going to go there. So, I think a big shout out to the BC Lions for being able to create this atmosphere in Kelowna, go there for 2 weeks with the FIFA World Cup taking over at BC Place, compared to what the Toronto Argonauts didn't do. Like, I think it would have been easy for the Argos to have a game at the University of Guelph. I know they're playing a preseason game there, but it seemed like they were happy to give those away. But to focus on the BC Lions, I think it's going to be a unique atmosphere, and the ability for the organization to connect to potential new fans there in Kelowna is going to be great. But the venue just seems like it's going to be spectacular given the time of year there, fellas. So that's another part of the schedule that really jumps off the page to me.
Yeah, and the next time we go to Kelowna, I think will be in February, and we'll really start to envision what the expansion is going to look like. Like when we saw Victoria for the first time, the completed product, he's like, wow, thinking about this didn't do it justice. Once you see it, it's going to be awesome. So I would imagine JC will be on hand for the 2 games, listening to your guys' podcast. Are you going to make the trek out, or is 1 from 3 down enough, do you think?
Well, usually it depends on the size of the event. JC Abbott will cover it top to bottom. I got to look at the schedule, actually, fellas. I don't know, what the Riders are doing those couple weeks, but that would be awesome, and that would be one of the things that we would circle and say, hey, we'd like to try to get you, because I think it is, as Nick mentioned, we don't have the touchdown game per se this season, but I think those games in Kelowna sort of serve as that. So it would be unique to take in that atmosphere. We have had two of us go to the Touchdown Atlantic games in the past. I think Hodge and I went to one, and then JC and I went to one to make sure that we sort of all got an idea for what it was like. So, man, that would be awesome. If it could work out, dude, I would love to be there.
Well, Riders host Toronto Friday, the 26th of June, so we get the private jet fueled up at around 11 that night, get into Kelowna at a decent time. And the following week, what do we got? Saskatchewan's in Ottawa on Friday the 3rd, so it's
could work.
Potential. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. We know Keon Hatcher is going to be there as a BC Lion. The big news in the last few days, last week, agreeing to terms on a 2-year deal, pretty rich deal. What do you make of it, Justin, and what that might do to the receiver market going forward?
Man, I think it's honestly well-deserved. And you guys know probably better than I do some of the struggles that Keon Hatcher went through with his injury rehab, but the fact that he led the Canadian Football League in receiving yards, almost 1,700 in 2025 was spectacular. And he's got that connection with Nathan Rourke that you guys see, every single day in practice. And then the rest of Canada and the United States and people around the world get to see it on game day with the BC Lions is just so special. And our JC Abbott did an exclusive interview with Keon Hatcher, and thanks, Bakes, for setting that up. And I wanted JC to ask Hatcher if he felt like he could go after the CFL's single season receiving yards record. And he said that that's one of his goals for 2026. And I think if you look at the production when Rourke is on the field with Hatcher, that's a legitimate possibility. I usually don't get too much into those types of things because I think, players like to talk pretty highly going into training camp, and it's not necessarily reality. But I think that's actually reality with Hatcher, which is why he got this big contract. I still need to source out the details there, but it seems like it could be over $300,000 in hard money for Mr. Hatcher. And I think it's definitely well-deserved. And you combine that with his relationship with Nathan Rourke, and then fellas, also the fact that there was a big jump in the salary cap going into 2025. And then Solomon Elimimian, the former Lions great and current PA president, believes that the salary cap could go up again. And I think it's just essentially par for the course for some of these skilled position players.
I think you're seeing a lot of comments too lately about, the Lions have Nathan Rourke, and now they have Matthew Betts as this high paid defensive player, and Justin McInnis is under contract, and now Hatcher. But like you were kind of just alluding to, that's all because of the projected salary cap increases, right? And I think you're going to see that across the league moving forward in these next weeks or months, right?
Definitely. I think there's a realistic possibility of that. And guys, I believe Ryan Rigmaid, the general manager, is on the record as saying that BC should be salary cap compliant for 2025. And it's easy to look at the high paid guys, not just on the BC Lions, but on every team around the league. And from the outside, try to say, oh, well, this team's over the cap. That team's over the cap. But the reality is that the BC Lions in 2025 had a mix of contributors. There were a number, as you guys know, of young players on rookie contracts who contributed to that team getting to the West Final and having that great run at the end of the regular season. So I understand how from the outside some fans might think that, but let's just do a little bit of a deeper dive before we start throwing some of these things around. For example, with Nathan Rourke's contract, right? I don't know how much I'm supposed to get into this on the show, but a big chunk of that is in marketing money, which isn't on the salary cap. Essentially a whole entire player of Rourke's contract isn't on the salary cap. So I would advise fans from rival teams to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And we have a lot of that info if you want to check it out on 3 Down Nation.
Justin, ahead of free agency, league wide, what's I know some dominoes are starting to fall, like Trevor Harris, Cody Fajardo, Hardrick I saw today, but league wide, what are some of the storylines or maybe players that are piquing your interest right now that you want to see how it all shakes out?
There's lots of time to go before we get there. And I think with the salary cap increase last year kind of getting bumped into 2026, if you will, because the teams didn't know that that was coming, or at least that's what some of them will tell you. And then the fact that it's going to go up again, I think a lot of teams are going to be able to keep the guys that they want to keep, like a Keon Hatcher, for example, or like a Jamarcus Hardrick that you mentioned with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Trevor Harris re-signing with the Riders as well, Cody Fajardo re-signing with the Edmonton Elks, Tyson Philpott getting an extension with the Montreal Alouettes. So, I'm usually going to look at the Canadians and the quarterbacks, but the starting quarterbacks now are essentially all set. So that takes away some of the drama. But the next biggest domino to me is Brady Oliveira. We know he has ties, out there to BC. And the Lions actually had a big offer on the table for him the last time around when he was potentially going to be a free agent, ultimately decided to re-sign with Winnipeg on a 2-year deal. But I look at the Tyson Philpott contract for $275,000 in hard money for the 2026 CFL season. If I'm Brady Oliveira sitting there with 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons and MOP on my resume, I'm saying, okay, I need to get my money as much as it is fair while I can, because we all know that the beating the running backs take can only have your career last for so long. So I think Oliveira's negotiations need to start with a 3. And that would be in the 300,000. So to me, that's one of the big storylines. And then the other one I'm looking at is Samuel Emilus, because in a direct comparison to Tyson Philpott, he's been way more productive, consistently healthy, has 2,000-yard seasons. Philpott hasn't even had a 1,000-yard season yet. And Emilus was just the MVC in the 112th Grey Cup, going for over 100 yards with the Riders. So those are 2 key guys that I'm tracking as this period goes along, where their teams can re-sign them, or do they actually get to that communication window and ultimately free agency?
I'll throw some flowers back at you guys, Dunk, because you guys on 3 Down, you cover everything, right? And one of those topics that I'm always fascinated in, that John Hodge, I believe, made out a full list of guys that you can look out for, is the NFL window that's opening up. So who can you just, and you can go league wide with this too, but who are some of the guys that your Hodge and even JC have your eyes on in terms of getting workouts and even landing a contract with the NFL this offseason?
Honestly, it's tricky to do this. So I give full credit to my colleague, you mentioned him there, John Hodge, for even trying to put together this list, because sometimes, and you guys have seen this over the years, random players get NFL opportunities who didn't even play very much in the CFL. But I think this year, some of the players at least are a little bit obvious. There's always going to be those guys that you didn't necessarily think could get an NFL shot, that have measurables, that played a little bit in the CFL, that go get a chance down in the NFL. But, I look at the guys who have traits that can win in the NFL. Like Damian Alford is a guy that leaps off the page to me. You're talking about 6'6", 224 pounds, ran in the 4.4s at a Big 12 Pro Day when he was coming out for the CFL draft, was able to put some great CFL tape together, and he's drawing NFL interest. I think you look at a guy, another Canadian, Devin Veresuk, had an outstanding season with the Hamilton Tiger Cats at linebacker as a ratio changer. And the key there for Veresuk is that he did a pro day at the University at Buffalo last March. So NFL scouts have had eyes on him for a while. And then now that they have the tape to see if it matches up with his, honestly, off the charts measurables for a linebacker, they can say, okay, yeah, this is a guy that we want to bring in. So Veresuk's getting a lot of interest. He'll have a bunch of NFL workouts. I've essentially lost count at this point. And you look at the BC Lions, and there's some guys there, and specifically Robert Carter Jr. with the season he had. We all know, and I don't want to downplay it, that unbelievable interception that he had. It was so spectacular, made highlight reels, around North America. He's drawing legitimate NFL interest. I don't know that BC Lions fans necessarily want to hear that, but he's a guy that, I could picture getting an opportunity down south for how well he played last year with BC. So those are just a few. You can check out the column that John Hodge has at 3 Down Nation. If you just Google, CFL players to the NFL, I'm sure it will come up. And it's not necessarily saying that every one of the guys on that list are going to go to the NFL, but it was sourced information from talking to people in the CFL and people in the NFL in terms of who could actually get some looks for workouts and then perhaps a contract down the line.
Very well said. Always worth tracking once we get into this time of year, approaching the Christmas break and all that. Hey, it's become a year-round league almost for news, which has been an outstanding thing, talking about, the 2025 and the need to get out in the media. And speaking of which, Justin, well, we've got you for a couple more minutes. Some great news, exciting news for you guys in the last few days. The growth of 3 Down Nation remains evident. You guys acquired by Harvard Media. Just talk about how exciting that is and what that could potentially mean for your outlet in the future.
It's a great deal for the short term and more specifically the long term. That was the real focus with joining up with Harvard Media in terms of 3 Down Nation. And it helped me because do the deal, I should say. I had already a 2-ish year relationship with a lot of the people at Harvard Media, from the top all the way down in the sports department. You start at the top with Matt Hill, who essentially oversees all of it. And I remember the first day that I met Matt Hill, part of the illustrious Hill family, and they had flown me out to Calgary to talk about this role to host the pre and post game show. And I walk into this meeting and Matt Hill's sitting at the table. First 2 things he asked me: how can I get involved with 3 Down Nation? And, at the time, the situation was definitely different. So I said, you might have to be patient with that. And then number 2, he was asking me, do you think Matthew Betts can make an impact with the Detroit Lions? Because Betts was coming off that great season with the BC Lions, and Matt Hill happens to be a big-time Detroit Lions fan. And it also should be noted that Matt Hill is a massive Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. Him and his family support the team in all kinds of ways. So that really took a lot of the pressure off me, because I'm walking into the meeting with Hill and some of these other big executives and thought, okay, I can just talk ball in here. Like, that's clearly all they want to do. So it started from that day in Calgary and has grown to a level where, I truly believe that Harvard Media and what they do. And for the people that don't know, Harvard Media owns 620 CKRM, which has had the Saskatchewan Roughriders radio rights for years. So they wanted to bring me in to turn the radio broadcast into a video live stream for the home games. Matt, you've seen the setup there in the Sports Cage Lounge. It's really good. They've leveled that up from, the radio days now to make it look good for the home games. So that relationship built, I earned their trust. And then I saw what they were doing from a business standpoint, really felt that could help us out because, for all intents and purposes, like, I'm a reporter and a content guy. That's what I love to do. I have some experience in sales, but also the rest of the team. Like, we had this ethos at 3 Down Nation that we just want people doing what they love to do. If there's something, that we might put in front of somebody that they don't necessarily love to do, well, let's, find somebody else ideally who wants to do it, or one of the fellas like me, John Hodge or JC Abbott will take care of that. So we really felt like this merger, so to speak, would be beneficial because Harvard Media has boots on the ground, salespeople, around Western Canada, and then had the idea to expand that nationally for us to be a long-term sustainable business. So I thought that was great. There are some people out there that have commented and said, well, is it going to have the rider bias and the green and white goggles on? And that's just absolutely not going to be the case. Matt Hill and everybody over there in the organization were very specific about that. They wanted us to continue to have full, complete editorial control. So, I want to make sure that gets out there because I think there's a little bit of a perception about that among the fans. And then I just think it pairs greatly with how they view the Canadian Football League, which would align with the likes of some of the great owners in this league. I think of Amar Doman because I'm on with you guys. He's so passionate about the Canadian Football League, and Harvard Media Matt Hill, his family, his dad, Paul Hill, and everybody on down through the organization has that passion for the Canadian Football League. So I really believe the site can thrive there. And I appreciate you guys bringing it up and giving me the opportunity to talk about it, because it is really exciting for us.
Yeah, good on you guys. And yeah, I've seen the setup there at Mosaic. I think Dwayne Vanneau came in there for an interview there before last year's playoff game. And the makeshift setup there in the Hotel Sask restaurant isn't too bad either.
Well, Dunk, you brought up the Trevor Harris hit. It was Kamoko Ture that got him in the fourth quarter of that watermelon smash. We label our clips. That's my that's how we get through everything, and that's my secret. But you were interviewing Riley Pickett, which I love, because I think Pickett's one of like the unique CFL players in terms of our fans know his story: long snapper, defensive lineman. Now he's a fullback. But there was a series last year where you asked for a clip too, where it was in Edmonton. Pickett on short yardage, he's blocking on fullback, then he snaps the PAT, and then he goes on the kickoff and makes a tackle. So, long story short, always happy to help you out and help out the great coverage that you guys do. And kind of spinning this into a question now, I'm not sure how much you can reveal or publicly, or how much you want to reveal, or how much of this discussion you've had with your colleagues at 3 Down Nation, but what can CFL fans be excited about with the short-term and even long-term future of 3 Down Nation now?
That's a great question, man, because we haven't necessarily put a lot of those details out publicly, but I think it's important to, tell our people to be transparent, just like we ask, the teams and players and people that we interviewed to be in this league. So I think the great thing first and foremost is that myself, John Hodge, and JC Abbott, we're at this full time. This is our passion, but we're also doing this full time. So I think that's important to know. Our contributors who have been with us, for varying years, some literally since the start. John Hodge would be in that boat. Some just joined us a year ago, will continue to stay with us in freelance roles. And then there's the real opportunity to add, because we're within this company that's so passionate about the Canadian Football League. And when I say add, it's things like, guys, you can be honest with this and agree with me. If you look at 3downnation.com, the website, it looks like it's stuck back in 2015 when we first opened up shop. Okay. Like, we need a revamp to the website. There are our team pages that need updating. There's just a whole updated vibe that we need to give to the site. And then also, keep up with the latest trends. Like I mentioned earlier, Bakes was so great to set up JC Abbott with Keon Hatcher, but we need to be doing that type of unique, and I hesitate to say exclusive, but like one-on-one content throughout the CFL calendar, not just during the regular season. So we're challenging ourselves to level up, kind of like Stuart Johnston is talking about around the Canadian Football League. We're going to ask why we do things. For example, the in-season 3 Down Nation podcast, we moved to Sundays or Mondays, if possible, when the games were done, because we had been taping it on Wednesdays. And we're like, the week at that point has kind of flipped over to the next set of games. So let's give the hot takes, if we have them, on the games, update the news, and then do a picks pod either on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what time of the year that we're in. So there are other plans as well, to expand. I don't want to go too crazy and too far too fast, but that's a type of idea. U Sports as well. We've seen some increased traction there in terms of, clicks and views and eyeballs and interest. So we want to do more U Sports content, whether it's about the UBC Thunderbirds or the Laval Rouge et Or. That kind of content people have voted with in terms of their clicks and told us that they want more of. So we want to do more Canadian football content. And I think Harvard Media is going to allow us to do that because they're so good on the business side. So we can focus on being awesome on the content side, and they can keep crushing it on the business side. And I think that's what will make it great in the short and long term.
Very well said. We look forward to seeing the effects of this and all the new and exciting changes that will come in 2026 and beyond that. Listen, Justin, this has been great. Great time to do it. We won't wait as long to get you on the next time. And have a great holiday season to you and yours. And like we're saying, the door is always open here. So whenever you guys are looking to talk more Lions, you know where to find us. Thanks for coming on, man.
You bet, fellas. Thank you so much. The happy holidays go right back to you. And I just want to reiterate it, man. I know, Nick, you're humble and you're saying that you make a catalog and you have all these clips there, but that Riley Pickett example, like, we didn't think we were going to be able to get the video when he described the sequence. And here Nick is, with that video right away. Matt, for you in particular, I remember Nathan Rourke had just come back to the Canadian Football League. And I think we had him for like half an hour, maybe even longer. Not all of it was on camera, but after he got back, and he was explaining in depth what happened in the NFL and so many different things that went on behind the scenes that made you go, well, no wonder he didn't play very well in Atlanta in like one quarter of action. So that type of access and insight is so beneficial to us on the pre and the post game show, and also on 3 Down Nation. So I can't thank you guys enough for it. And yeah, man, if you ever want to do it again, I'm always around. I'm a big fan of what the BC Lions are doing, from Amar Doman on down to the entire organization. He's revitalized the fan base there. I'm sure, Bakes, you've seen it up and down over the years. And I think it's incredible for the Canadian Football League. And it helps outlets like 3 Down Nation and, some of the other ones around the country as well. So lots of praise to the BC Lions. Appreciate what you guys are doing out there. And I hope, I got to look at the schedule, that I can get out there to Kelowna. What they're calling it, the Apple Bowl. Is that right?
Yeah.
Touchdown Kelowna at the Apple Bowl. Yep.
It's going to be a party. You won't want to miss it. But we'll see you in week 2 regardless, my friend. Thanks again.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Excellent discussion with Justin Dunk of 3 Down Nation. And yeah, I know it was kind of lengthy there at the end, but it is good and exciting to see how far that website has become. He kind of took that over from Drew Edwards about 5-6 years ago. Drew had been a regular CFL contributor at the Hamilton Spectator and did what a lot of writers have had to do, switch to online coverage. And Justin, JC, and Hodge, they have some other people contributing in various markets too, but those are the main 3. Good on them for continuing their growth and coverage of 3 Down football.
No, any CFL fan or anyone that wants to know more about the CFL that I talk to, I point them toward 3 Down Nation as an excellent resource for all kinds of things, right? And even myself, like after Winnipeg games or after Montreal games, if I'm kind of casually watching them, I like to go and look at what their writers are saying about, like, maybe the nuts and bolts about why stuff happened in the games, right? Or post-game comments or just news, right? And stuff that they exclusively report. So they're a great outlet. I know they gave us some high praise, but I want to throw it right back at them because, yeah, like Dunk spearheads that, and we have JC out here, but they got some excellent, people out there running the show, and happy to see that they're growing.
100%. And we should also promote, if you're looking for more content, more podcasts, subscribe to the 3 Down Nation podcast. Comes out every week. A very excellent resource, as you say. And this week, you'll hear an interview from Keon Hatcher that JC Abbott did. So more player interviews, another example of their growth.
Quick note, too. So Dunk brought up that, I sent him a PAT that Riley Pickett snapped, but there's a reason I tell our people to film every single play in a game, or at least myself. I make sure I film every single PAT, because you never know what's going to happen on any given play, right? And
true.
Anything can happen. And the reason I do this is the 2022 Western Final, the third quarter, Winnipeg scores a touchdown, obviously not good, and you're walking back to the sideline. And as I was,
Terry Williams
during the PAT, Terry Williams is running by me as I'm getting he was taking the PAT back for 2 points, and I hit record, but I was too late, right? The play was kind of
you're never thinking about that.
So now I just keep my camera still, and if it's a PAT and it's good, stop recording right after, and most of the times you just delete that clip because we'll never use it. But I learned from that Terry Williams play in the 2022 West Final that you might as well just film everything and rehash it out after the fact and what you need, what you don't.
Could have been a big play, right? That got us to within 8 at the
one
end.
Possession game, yeah.
Without that, if it doesn't get returned or if the kick gets made, then it's almost curtains at that point. What a roller coaster that game was it not?
Yeah, Nathan Rourke, yeah. All of it.
Yeah. and trying to get back there. 3 Western Final appearances in 4 years, looking to make that next step in 2026. All right, we've talked about the offseason, a lot of movement. Should hit on Keon Hatcher very quickly. I've not recorded an episode since Hatch agreed to terms. 2-year extension agreed to by Hatcher, and this was obviously a big priority for Ryan Rigmaiden, and I look at this as a great story overall. Remember, again, speaking of playoff losses in Winnipeg, it was the year after that one we're just talking about where both Hatch and TJ Lee suffered the Achilles injuries almost in back-to-back plays, I want to say, if not back-to-back plays, just within minutes of each other. They're both in the medical tent, and gets the late start in 24, first full season since 23 this year, and boy, oh boy, did he cash in. 1,600 plus yards, and you heard Dunk talk about it. He wants to break the Alan Pitts single-season record. I believe it's 2,036, set in 1994. Obviously, some very important work done here getting Hatcher locked up.
Yeah, and some great news, period, right? That's the bottom line. Keon Hatcher Sr. has deserved, to get that contract extension. Obviously, the bad timing was his last contract came up when, in 2023, he was pretty much the league's leading receiver. He was held out of the final game for precautionary reasons because the Lions were stuck in second place. But he would have led the CFL in receiving yards in 2023 too, which the last 2 full seasons Keon Hatcher Sr. has played, he's been the best receiver in the CFL. The numbers back it up. I think you watch your using your eyes, the eye test backs it up, and he's just maybe he's not the most flashiest receiver. Like you always hear talk about a guy like Kenny Lawler being the best receiver, and you see all those highlight reel catches. But we even put out catches top 10 plays from this past season, and there's no shortage of highlight reel plays too, right? You think of him as a great route runner, a smart route runner. Nathan Rourke always attests to how smart of a player Hatch is, and I think you see it on the field with the trust they have in each other because of how much he believes in Hatch's intelligence on the field. And he's a guy that can go win contested battles and leads by example, right? Too, and that's exactly what he's become. He's 31 years old now, and he's definitely the leader of this receiver room, which is great news because he's going to be here for at least the next 2 years and beyond.
And we look forward to seeing some other pending guys getting locked up here, hopefully in the coming weeks. February 10th, first Tuesday in February, yet again, is when the free agency period opens. Of course, the week leading up to that is the negotiating window where you can talk and make offers to players on other teams. Another exciting wrinkle recently added to the offseason. Lions have brought in roughly about 15, 16 American rookies. Another big part of the offseason, bringing guys in for camp, seeing who can stick around. A lot of impact players like Keon Hatcher, where like these guys just show up, name on a roster, and away you go. We're each going to highlight one here we're excited about before we get to trivia and a little go for it or punt. Nick, who you have?
Joe Fouché, defensive back, played at Arkansas from 2019 to 2021, so didn't overlap with Keon Hatcher Sr., but they have the same alma mater. And I like his resume. He has the Indoor Football League Defensive Player of the Year while playing for the Bay Area Panthers last season. Had some minicamp visits with the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills. And kind of a stat sheet stuffer, right? 40 tackles, 4 pass breakups, and a forced fumble in 10 games at safety in his final year of college football. So lots of stats, and we always see it. We talk about it all the offseason, right? You can tell there's always a receiver or DB, or usually a handful actually, that just stand out. And I don't know, Joe Fouché just stands out as I like what I see on his resume, at least right now.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary is always going to be under the microscope. It's that challenge of it's a mixture of veterans and young guys. At least it was this past year, especially once TJ Lee came back. So, yeah, definitely a name to remember. I want to talk about a wide receiver. Again, we're talking about Keon Hatcher. Well, Keon Hatcher, among other guys, Stanley Berryhill, a guy who's moved on, Alexander Hollins. We didn't know much about these guys, and not proclaiming anything here at all, but I'm intrigued about a guy named Caden Robinson, wide receiver who transferred from Central Florida to Appalachian State, 2022 to 2024. So might have overlapped with Chase Bryce there. Speaking of overlap, would have to look this up. Anyway, 34 games with Appalachian State. Robinson, 147 receptions, 2,614 yards, 14 touchdowns. These are all top 10 totals in Mountaineers program history. All Sun Belt honors, first team as a senior. So this is a guy that sticks around and comes to training camp. Going to have some eyes on him maybe in rookie camp those first few days.
Love it. Yeah, there's so many receivers, so many DBs, but like I was just saying, you can always tell the guys that stand out from the start, and that's what I love about training camp.
Yeah, and Jared Gibson, by the way, should mention him. He was a receiver in training camp last year. He's one of these 16 players who have been signed, so he's back on the roster, going to get another look, and we'll see if a guy like that maybe has a leg up on some of the others once we get to Kamloops in the first week of May.
Understanding the playbook, right? It's half the battle.
Yep. Okay, you've got trivia in this itinerary. What are we doing trivia-wise?
Very generic, very easy, but I'm gonna see if you can clear the board here. So in your release, I was looking at Keon Hatcher Sr.'s contract extension release. You mentioned that Keon Hatcher Sr. has 4,779 receiving yards, which puts him in 14th place all time.
Yeah.
In the BC Lions receiving leaders. So can you name the 13 receivers?
Yeah, okay,
Keon
so
has to pass.
I should say, with another 1,000 yards, he's going to go all the way up to the top 10. So
correct.
Okay.
But who is he passing?
G. Roy Simon.
Number 1.
Jim Young.
Number 2.
Manny Arsenault.
Number 3. Can you go in order?
Brian Burnham.
Number 4.
Now, who's after Burnham? Mike Trevathan? Well, I'm not going to go in order, but
you had a good run there.
I don't have to go in order.
You don't
Trevathan,
have to. Trevathan is 6.
Okay. Alfred Jackson.
Alfred Jackson is 13.
So I knew he was kind of right on the. See, after the top 4 or 5, it kind of gets dicey, and you kind of start to kick yourself.
You look at longevity guys, right? I think that's the theme here.
Yeah.
Also some ballers.
How many have I named?
You've named 6.
Sean Gore.
Sean Gore is not on that list, but he's just behind Hatch.
Right there. I knew. I see. I automatically transitioned to the
way before that. Actually, is what it's kind of my hint for you. There's no one really in the past 10 years.
Yeah, other than those other guys like
Burnham and Arsenault. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go old school for these.
Darren Flutie.
Darren Flutie's number 9.
Darren Flutie. I thought he would have been higher than 9th.
Number 9, 5,000.
Wasn't here that long, I guess. Darren Flutie, talked about him. Yep. So we're just about halfway there, right?
Yep. You got a couple guys that played in the 70s.
Yeah.
80s and 70s kind of take up the majority of this list, and then
Jan Carinci.
Nope, not on that list. There's 2 guys from the 2000s too. I would say a couple Canadians from the 2000s.
Jason Claremont's
number 8.
Let's talk more about Ryan Thelwell.
Ryan Thelwell is number 12.
12?
So, yeah, he's just under 5,000 on that list.
Making a bit of a dent in this here.
You're missing
a guy from the 80s?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We've talked about Swervin Mervin.
You've
right?
not? Yo, you did say Swervin.
Yep.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't actually.
I didn't.
You did not.
Fernandez. That was the guy in the top 5 I missed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there's your top 5. Alexander 7. You got Claremont as 8. You got Flutie as 9, and you're missing 10 and 11.
I'm missing a Canadian too.
Yeah, one's Canadian.
Ooh, what era?
2000s. And it overlapped a bit in the 2010s.
Oh boy,
good receiver. Not many of them. You named Claremont, kind of his partner in crime, I guess you could say. I think G-Roy era.
God. Initials.
I was going to give it away. PJ.
Oh, Paris Jackson.
Paris Jackson.
Sorry, Paris.
And then you got one more, MC. So it kind of gives it away, I think, too.
In what era?
I think 80s. He was a good
MC,
receiver.
Yeah.
Listeners, you probably got this one. I'm Googling to make sure. It's a very generic name, so I gotta throw the BC Lions past it for MC.
Matt Clark.
Yeah. 90s.
He was 91. Yeah,
91.
Early 90s, 94 Grey Cup. Yeah.
That's why I said I think. But
so
Matt
we
Clark
did okay there. Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
Other than taking long to mention Fernandez.
Yeah. Well, you got through him, right? Clark is 11th at 5,072. So Hatcher, that's somebody Hatcher would be on pace to pass. And if Hatcher has another 1,000-yard receiving season, like you mentioned, he would pass Paris Jackson and enter into the top 10 BC Lions receivers of all time. And I think, I mean, 2 more years of Hatch.
Well, he says he's going for Alan Pitts' single season thing, so he's going to get higher.
If that happens,
2,000 more yards, pretty much.
That would so he's pretty much 20. He's 2,200 behind Jason Claremont.
Okay,
so
call it 2 more seasons of over 1,000. He's gonna
He would be 6th. He would pass Mike Trevathan and just be behind Mervin. So, I mean, Dunk's not a projection guy. I am a projection guy. Hatch has, 4 more 1,000-yard seasons? That would put him right in about Manny Arsenault territory for top 3. So, lots to look forward to with Keon Hatcher Sr.
Future Hall of Famer, Keon Hatcher Sr. Let's do it.
Yeah, I like I said, I like my projection, so let's go there.
Nicely done. Good question. All right, go for it or punt to wrap things up here and what is our final episode until the new year. What a year it's been. All right, I'll start. Go for it. And I'm not just saying it because my team, the 49ers, has a decent shot of making it, but I'm loving this NFC playoff picture. Consider this for a second. In this past week of NFL, you had the Chicago Bears with 1 loss went from the number 1 seed to the 7th seed. LA Rams are back in the top seed. 49ers had a bye. They go from 7 to 6 thanks to that Bears loss. So you see the Eagles slipping up in Los Angeles. They're going to barely hang on to win the NFC East if they're lucky. I'm loving this playoff picture. There's a 49ers-Seahawks game in the last game of the year that could determine a lot. I'm going for this, man. I love it. Bring it on.
Yeah, my Sundays right now are just full NFL mode. But I will say, the Seahawks and the 49ers, a new character has entered into the race that they will have to overcome. And it's none other than 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who is signed to the Indianapolis Colts practice roster for the purpose of, I imagine, playing.
Is he playing? Is he playing in Seattle this Sunday?
Well, I don't know about this quick, but could you?
Well, the Niners and Colts play Monday the following week,
so that could be 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, and I'm all here for it. It was obviously a devastating weekend from my Colts, but I mean they're making headlines right now.
Hey, what I want to know is, and no disrespect intended to him, but there's no one else who's more recent that they could have signed, like.
I don't know. Well,
someone on another team's practice roster they could have signed, maybe. Like I heard Bailey Zappi, an example. He's on Cleveland's practice roster right now.
Brett Rippon is there.
Brett Rippon's already there.
He's Canadian, right? I'm not mixing up with somebody.
Well, his dad, Mark Rippon, is a Canadian citizen.
He has a Canadian
was
passport.
born in Calgary, but did not grow up in Canada. They call him a Canadian quarterback, but so he has a connection to Canada, Brett.
He might be starting if Riley Leonard can't go. So there's a lot up in the air with the Colts right now.
Gotta love it. So the guy, I think Phillip Rivers is 3 years older than I am, and he's a grandfather.
He's the same age as Troy Polamalu.
Yeah. And Albert Hainsworth. I saw that graphic they did. Albert Hainsworth. Eli Manning, of course, was in the same draft.
Awesome stuff.
Awesome. All right. What do you got?
So you and I have we've been Brecca Boys for quite some time, trying out all the menu items.
I think I've gone each of my last 3 trips to the downtown office. I've gone. I got to find something else for Wednesday this week.
No, Brecca Mondays are definitely in play in the off season for your BC Lions staff. But there's one coming to Surrey now, so that can be even more dangerous. So I'm going for that because it is very close to where I reside. And that could be dangerous. Brecca, for those who aren't Vancouver residents, is a 24/7 local bakery and coffee shop, I guess you could say. And it is fantastic. I recommend pretty much their entire menu. Whenever I go there, I try and get something new because I always enjoy it. And it coming to Surrey is a big go for it for yours truly.
You like the steak and cheese panini, as do I. The Mediterranean one, I'm a big fan.
London Fog Donut is the other thing I will plug. It is fantastic.
Okay. I'll tell you what, when I first, before I went to it downtown, my first exposure to it was an Easter dinner a few years ago. One of my aunts brought a dessert, these delicious chocolate cake pop type things. And I said, where did you get these? And Brecca. So that was kind of my first, I got to go check this out. Oh, there's one on near the Pender office. And sure enough, it's become a game breaker.
We had a downtown meeting in the off season one year, and Carolyn Cody was like, "Yeah, I'm getting us lunch," and the order was for Brecca. And I decided to Google it, and I'm like, "Oh, this looks pretty good." I had no idea what it was. Too. So that was my first Brecca meal ever. But
all right,
big into them now.
Yeah, love it. You can't beat the dining options down there when we go down there. So, but like you said, there's more coming here to Surrey, including a Brecca. All right, it's punt time, and let me explain this one. I understand why they're doing it. The National Hockey League's going to 84 games starting
confirmed?
next season. Yeah. They're shortening the preseason and adding to the regular season. Now, I get it. Television revenue, that wins out. But the NHL season is already kind of long, in my opinion, and I'm going to do this with a caveat. I'm going to say, if you go to 84 games, why not do what they used to do in the 90s? You weren't born yet when they had 84 games for a few seasons. Each team played 2 neutral site games. The Canucks played games in Hamilton and Saskatoon, for sure.
Yeah, Regina or something.
Yeah. The Lions. Pavel Bure scored his 50th goal one of those years against Buffalo at a game in Hamilton. I'll never forget that, listening to that on the radio. So, yeah, the National Hockey League, I know there's a lot of weird headlines with the Olympic ice and everything, but 84 games, wow. If anything, you should reduce the games, but I get it. I get why they're doing it. It's business. I get all that. If you're a Canucks season ticket holder, you're going to have to buy one more home game in your package every year. So
yeah, very true.
Props to those people who support that team through bad times.
I'm very traditionalist in the aspect that I don't love the addition of games to professional sports leagues because of the records. Like you look at the NFL one this year where Jackson Smith and Jigba has a chance at breaking the single season receiving record, but they're also playing a 17th game. Whereas Calvin Johnson, when he did it, had 16 to do it. So call me traditionalist, but I'm never a fan of really. I know, it's, like you said, there's more to it with box gate revenue and television ratings or television revenue, right? So that's kind of the main reason. But yeah, there is. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with the NHL too for my punt.
What do you got?
I'm sure many of you, if you're chronically online like we are, saw the Brady to Chuck story last week about how he pulled a prank on Claude Giroux and cut some of his sticks, and Claude Giroux ended up accidentally using them in a real regular season NHL game and snapping 2 sticks consecutively on a single power play and freaking out, and then Brady to Chuck came clean. I've never been a pranks guy, so I guess I'm punting pranks. I don't really like participating in them. You call the no fun police here, I guess, but that's a prime example of why I don't like pranks. Literally, the fans that were there at that Ottawa St. Louis game, paying their hard-earned money to watch NHL superstars play, and they're snapping sticks because they're tinkering. Their captain of all people is tinkering with them.
Well, that and they're 2 points on the line, right?
Yeah, imagine if Ottawa misses a playoff.
Ottawa is one of those teams. They call it the mushy middle. They're stuck in the middle. Yeah, so, I think I'm kind of with you there.
It's a good laugh, but at the end of the day, there's bigger things at play, in my opinion. I've never really been into pranks. I always like cringe at like the mess they cause. I guess that's maybe my main reason. Like when you see like the Marc-Andre Fleury ones when he's like filling cars with like whatever. But yeah, I'm out on pranks. That's my punt.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Hockey, interesting times in the hockey world. Vancouver Canucks, Nashville Predators battling it out for 32nd place in the National Hockey League. We're 2 weeks from Christmas, and
we were 2 years ago.
The hockey games here are meaningless. Jeez.
And we were 2 years ago from seeing them square off in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
Things can change.
Went to game 1. That was fun. Yeah, a lot can happen in less than 2 years. That's for sure. That's why you got to take advantage of those opportunities when things are going good. Anyway, that'll bring it to an end. We want to thank fans, listeners, first and foremost, our great partners at World Vision Canada. Again, go to bclions.com/World Vision to learn how you can support a great cause, a great charity. It's Christmas time. There's plenty of people out there in need. So if you're looking for a charity to support, World Vision Canada would be a great one. And we may not be podcasting until January, but keep it tuned to our YouTube page. We're getting some love on the lion detector test. There we go. 3 Down Nation. Props to 3 Down Nation. Again, go to YouTube if you haven't watched the schedule reveal. Very fun stuff. All of our latest content. We've got some top 10 highlight lists. Just because the holidays are coming doesn't mean the content's stopping.
Definitely not. Yeah, like you said, YouTube, website, you name it. There's still tons of content coming, but we will be back in the new year.
Merry Christmas, Nikki.
Merry Christmas.
Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And that goes to everyone listening in Lions Land. We're back in 2026 on First and Now.